Hello, everyone. It is AEW Unrestricted. Hello, good morning, Thursday. If you're listening to this, or Monday, if you're a couple days delayed watching the video podcast. But you've got Aubrey Edwards and you've got Will Washington. How you doing, Will?
I am doing great. It's March. Yeah. I mean, we're reaching the end of March. I can't believe we're this. It is the end of March.
I'm accidentally writing 2022 on everything. Right. And we're like 12 weeks into 2024.
Oh, yeah. I had that the other day where I had lunch with a friend and she was talking about her 6-year-old daughter. And I was like, you can't have a 6-year-old daughter. She was born in 2018. And she's like, yeah, 6.
Yeah.
And I went, well, yeah. Oh, I guess that is true.
Right. Yeah, when you make the realization that you've been alive for longer since 2000 than you were alive before 2000, it's like, oh, okay, cool. You just now realized that because I said it. I'm sorry.
I did. But yeah, look, it's Women's History Month. It's March. Yes. We have a lot going on in the women's divisions across AEW and Ring of Honor. Talking about just over on AEW, we've had the debut of Mercedes Moné, just killing it at Big Business. And then the following week in Toronto and then, of course, we had the women's street fight in Toronto, which was
incredible.
It was incredible. Willow, now the first person to participate in 3, and she got to drop that in a promo.
Yes, I saw. I noticed that. I was like, oh, good line, good stat.
Yeah, it's a good little stat. But
speaking of stat, like Statlander was in that same match, which was absolutely incredible, and like Julia and Skye, like. When one of them brought out Tax and then the other one brought out Tax, I'm like,
such a moment.
Oh, this is going to be good. But I mean, you've got Toni Storm has been killing it, and then Mariah May as Toni Storm has been killing it. Like, I didn't think anyone could be better than Toni Storm as Toni Storm, but Mariah is like having me question it a little bit. And it's like Athena has been like just like owning Ring of Honor for months, almost like over a year now at this point. You've got Billy Starks is really coming to her own. Like you've just
and now Sheeta just taking this place in Ring of Honor, and she just had that match with Rachel Ellering to remind everybody that, hey, I'm still here. And she's got a huge match coming up at Supercard of Honor against Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. But then also we've got other things coming up at Supercard of Honor as well.
Mm-hmm. We've got so many things coming up on AEW. Like, it's just to be a woman and to be a part of wrestling history, to see all of these things kind of happening all at once has been really incredible. And seeing all the growth of our female talent in the locker room has been really awesome. And I feel like with it being March, we kind of have to make sure that we promote one of those really, really important women that is making history during Women's History Month and really like during the 11 months out of the year. So, Will, who is our guest today?
Our guest today, Aubrey, is someone that AEW fans have become quite familiar with as of late. I have grown this strong affinity to. Actually, somebody I'm interviewing for the second time, but both times that the last one took place, neither of us were All Elite. But now, she very much is. She's the one and only, one true African wrestler. It is Queen Aminata.
Yay!
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. I'm so like legitimately excited because getting to know you over the last like few months especially, and seeing your growth not only as a wrestler but as like a person, and then all of the little like quips we have on show day where you're like, do you know anything yet? I'm like, how long have you worked here? Like I'm so excited you're here. As Will said, like there's the fan response to you has been so great to see, like people just falling in love with you the same way that we have. So I'm very happy that you're here because it's like, yay, like how could we not have you on the show during Women's History Month? This is just so wonderful. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited too.
And you've got a lot coming up because you've now made it to the finals of the Ring of Honor Women's Television Title Tournament. You're going to be taking on Billy Starks at Supercard of Honor. I want to talk about your journey to the finals of this tournament. You had an incredible match against Red Velvet in the semifinals, and I actually had to watch it like 3 times. I have genuinely seen it multiple times. I watched it on our internal feed. I watched it. I wanted to see how the actual broadcast of it came together, and then I was like, "Damn, that was dope. I need to watch that again." And so those are my 3 times I've seen it. And genuinely just a phenomenal match. But honestly, you've had a great run in this tournament. I want to talk about how this all came together and how that's been for you.
Honestly, there's no secret. You work for so many years and you hope to deliver, and just one day just clicks, and then especially coming back from what I went through last year, I just had one goal in mind: go out there, have fun, do what you love, and in the process, just whatever happens. That's just how I go about life now.
I feel like there's so much happening all at once because you're killing it on Ring of Honor, but at the same time, like on AEW, we're seeing you also kind of have this growth and this awesomeness.
Yeah.
So like back in February, on the 14th, you got your AEW is Queen Aminata is All Elite on Rampage, I think, when you beat Anna Jay. And one of my favorite things was that you tweeted afterwards, like, "Dad, I did it." And knowing kind of like your relationship with your father and everything you kind of went through, what did that moment mean for you?
I want to say it would have been better if it was alive, but I don't have any control over that. But at the same time, I'm proud because everything that I've sacrificed, along the way to make it to where I'm at today. Like, my goal, honestly, was to tell him when I get signed, "Hey, Dad, I got signed. Finally, I'm not going to hide." But that didn't happen. So now I just have to, I guess, keep it in my heart and just go about it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
No more crying. I promise myself, no more crying.
Oh, no. It's, I mean, I was sitting here like, how long are we going to get into this podcast before one of us starts crying?
No more crying.
No,
crying is good. It's healthy. It's therapeutic. You worked hard for it. You're allowed to be emotional.
True.
And I know you and I have had great conversations about just the progress you've made already and where you're looking to go next. And again, you've mentioned before how much your father and all of that meant to your process in getting there. And so I was in the same way. I felt for you the moment you tweeted that and the moment it all got to happen. And it is just a really cool moment. And I'm really, really happy for you.
Thank you.
I did want to ask, I want to talk about a moment that fans really gravitated toward earlier this year. You in another Rampage match back in Jacksonville had a match with Hikaru Shida. Yes. And still probably one of my favorite in-ring moments. You went for a pin. You got a 2 count. You went back for the pin, got another 2 count, and then went, "That's 4." And that, to me...
I mean, she's not wrong.
Was so good. That was still one of my favorite in-ring moments. You and I have talked about it, but for the audience, how did that come together?
Well, since we can't hide nothing in wrestling, maybe people don't know, but I did 2 tours in Japan. So I love the Japanese style. I feel like I mix both styles, in the ring. And I think it was when I was there the second time, one of my friends did that, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. You just never know." And then that day, I wrestled Shida. It was so cold, the first bump, I was like, "Oh my God, my body. I just need to make this thing fun for me." And knowing Shida, Japanese style, I was like, I know she's going to get it. You got to have the perfect opponent to do some crazy things. You know what I mean? So finally I did it. I was like, "Oh, I'm glad I kept this in my back pocket." And I saw the fan retweeting stuff like that. They were laughing about it. I was so happy because, yes, I want to be in the ring. I want to fight. Like, I want to do all these crazy things, but at the same time, I want them to know, hey, I can have fun. You know what I mean? Just go with the flow.
I mean, it wasn't mathematically incorrect.
Right? So technically, I won that match.
I mean, refs are just generally bad at counting above 3 anyway, or we're bad at counting to 3 in general. So it was just like, oh, thank you for doing the math for us. This is great. I don't know how we would have functioned without you. So, yeah, on top of that, highly like agree. Like it is just cold in Jacksonville, and I don't think people like fully forget it. So the fact that you can have as hard a hitting match as you can outdoors in like anytime that's not summer, it's just like, oh God. Like, it was incredible. So I don't think people fully appreciate like how incredible that match was, just given all of the like weather issues that we run into all the time in Jacksonville.
Like when they hit you, it hurts a little extra. But I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had been warned all along about Daly's place in January, particularly by Aubrey, and I wasn't ready for how it actually felt. I can't even imagine being in the ring with like you have kind of that isolated space, and so you don't at least have like the warmth of having multiple bodies around you. You really just have the warmth of the activity you're partaking in, and so hats off to just being able to keep it together and find a way to make it work,
to make it funny too. Like, oh, it's so awesome. This is such an awesome conversation. We're talking with Queen Aminata here on AEW Unrestricted. Coming up, much more to talk about. It is AEW Unrestricted. We had Aubrey and Will, and we're talking to the one, the only Queen Aminata. So one of the things that is, I mean, we talk about Women's History Month, but you are literally making history. You are the first African-born wrestler signed to a major company. And that is just so absolutely wonderful. Like, it's one thing to, you know, already get signed to a major company, but to come from another country and to succeed here. And you've also done multiple tours in Japan, as you mentioned in our first segment. What is it like coming to America, coming from another country? And why did you choose Ohio? I think that's where I'm going with this. Like, of all places, Ohio. No offense to Ohio, but like, Ohio.
What's wrong with Ohio?
I mean, it's. I don't think we got enough time on this podcast.
Well, yeah, Ohio is cold. I love Ohio, but anyways, coming from Guinea, I want to say there's nothing special about it, but there's so much more because people from here don't know, you know, Guinea, or I mean, they know Africa. It's like, Africa. What's Africa? You know what I mean? So I just wanted to give them something that they don't know, like tell them a story without talking to them, like showing them, hey, this is where I'm from, but this is what you get. I don't know if that makes sense, because I feel like the best education, even with my kids, sometimes I don't like to tell them how to do things. I like to show them, you know. Mm-hmm. So especially like being signed, this is a bigger company, like a major platform for me. So what a better way, like, for me to just express myself, like show people my culture, like my accent, how proud I am to walk in there with my cape and like all the stuff that I wear. And it's funny sometimes because some fans like, oh my God, like that's just fake accent. Like, no, are you really from Africa? Like, what the hell? And I'm like, yes, honey, I was born and raised in Africa. You know, I still go back, and but I just had bigger dreams that I couldn't, you know, realize in Africa. So I just took, you know, a chance on me, and I gave him my all. And I just said, hey, go hard or go home. And I feel like I have 2 homes now. I have USA and I have Africa. So I'm happy to be here. At the same time, I miss home, but I'm so thankful again for everything that I got, you know, I'm building here. And I know there is many more to come. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and it's actually not even in my notes, but I'm remembering it from the last podcast we did, which I wanted to ask you about your education, and very specifically because it's very unique to hear from a professional wrestler, particularly in the case of what you actually got a degree in. And so
I don't know any of this.
Yeah, so please tell the audience a little bit of your educational background.
Well, I have a master's in private international law.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't we have this girl on an international, like an office contract? Jeez.
You know, no office contract for me. I'm too juicy for that.
I'm going to mention that in my annual review. Just tell Nick Sobek, like, sorry, I'm too juicy for that.
Yes. My dad, actually, he went to school for 2 years. The third year, his mom passed away, and he's from a tiny, tiny village back home. So he decided to become a mechanic, and that's how everything started for him. So when he started having kids, I was actually born while he was like traveling, looking for auto parts and stuff like that. He promised himself one thing. He said, my kids will have the education that I never had. So I went to private school from day one all the way to university. And I had a choice to go to like private university or, public university. I said, Dad, I want to experience the public university. I want to take taxi. I want to do this and I want to do that with my friends. And he let me do that for 1 year. And that's when he was like, okay, well, since you're in university, because I went to university before I turned 18, I wasn't that smart. I was just a little bit smart. You know what I mean?
You're very smart. Like, don't downplay it.
And then he was like, hey, you want to move to actually France instead? And I was like, well, why not? But he didn't finance it for me. So I got it through, we call it Campus France. Like it's where it's a lottery stuff, like when you have like good grades and they get to finance your schools and stuff like that. So I went through that system and I went to France. I did my master's. And 1 year after actually taking my I don't know how they say that in English, like you graduate and now you're able to work. Mm-hmm. I said, I want to speak English. I'm moving to America. But I didn't tell him that. He was like, oh. When I told him finally, hey, Dad, okay, I'm here on vacation, but actually I'm not going back to France. I am going to America. Wait, what? America? You don't speak English. We don't know anybody there. I was like, well, I do. So here I am in Ohio.
One of those like where you just buy a one-way ticket, but don't tell your parents. Like, yeah I'm just going to go. So I'll be back eventually.
I'm just going to come. And I came and I found wrestling and I was like, well, at least I can go back, from being a lawyer, but I'm not trying to go back. I'm going to make it as a wrestler and then tell him, but yeah, I know.
So how do you make the transition from a master's student in international law in France to, you know what, I'm going to go to America and be a wrestler? Like, where does that mental jump happen?
Believe it or not, since I was in high school, I used to play soccer. I would run. I would do so where you jump on the sand, like the further, like, I don't know how the long jump. The long jump. So I used to do all that. I was really into sport. But back then, like, even going to the gym, people would look at me funny, like, why a girl is coming to the gym? Like, what are you doing here? Or lifting weight, like, what are you? Just go do your cardio. But I was always the stubborn kind, and I'm like, Daddy's there to back me up. Like, you can't talk to me like that. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I love sport. Why not? Let me just try it. And I tried boxing in France, and the boxed my nose one day. I was like, no, I don't want to mess up my nose. Like, no, I don't want to touch my face. Let me find something else. Then here I am in America wrestling. Now, this is the one. We have to make it. We have to make it. And we're here.
And you are absolutely making it. And of course, you mentioned you didn't know any English coming to America, but now you speak 4 languages.
Yes. I know. I started learning English back in 2013 because that's when I moved here. So I'm still learning because you have some stuff that I can't say at all. And honestly, it's just funny to me. I'm like, I just go with it. But I do speak now English, 70%. Let's just put it that way. French and my dad's native language and my mom's native language, which is Soso and Fulani.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So which one is the hardest language to learn between English and French?
English.
Yeah, no,
All
it's
this
like I knew the answer to that, but
yeah.
Between
English,
the four,
definitely.
between the four, which do the majority of your thoughts occur in?
ooh,
Oh, French.
Interesting.
really?
Yeah. Because sometimes, like, yeah, I'll be like, give me a second, let me translate. Or we'll be talking and I would just say something in French randomly. I was like, I'm sorry, that's not English. That's French because I'm still like translating in my head. But for some reason, I would do that with Skye and she'd be like, yeah, I know what you mean. And I'm like, oh,
Oh man. So let's talk about your relationship with Skye Blue, because you two are very, very good friends.
yeah, we are.
When did your friendship start? Was that at AEW or was that beforehand?
No, on the indies. It
Oh,
started
that's
on the
awesome.
indies. And yeah, we kept it going and it's just love at first sight, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
you
I love
That's
two
it.
my
are.
wife right there.
Yeah,
I don't-
work
you,
wife.
you two are some of my favorites to be around at television, and I think you guys just have such an infectious friendship, and it makes everybody just want to be like, I need to have that friend in my life, right? Because like, and I think it's almost like not hidden at all, right? Like the two of you, everybody has seen you two as friends to the point of where when a match is announced between you two, it's like, okay, we know that there's some fun that's about to be had here. And I was so excited for you guys to have that most recent match you guys had, because going back to your injury beforehand, it was nice to kind of get to meet again on television this time. And it was like kind of right at the height of Skye Blue and her heel turn and the rise of her character. So it was really cool to get to see you guys get to do that in the ring. And I remember how excited she was when I got to tell her who her opponent was. And, so I said all that to say that, again, the friendship that you guys have is I think a unique and special one that I think most people should want to find in professional wrestling. And am I remembering correctly though that you're allergic to her cat?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Cats and dogs.
Oh no.
Cats and dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. I'm so
Like,
sorry.
I always take my medication like when I'm there with her, but her cat is always like in my bag and always I'm like, Shaggy, go, I can't touch you, but he's always around. And I'm like,
It's
no.
like cats are natural heels. Like they find the person that either doesn't like cats or is allergic to cats, and then those are the people they attach to. And it's like, why are you being an asshole?
I know. But
like,
mean, I deal with it, so
you deal with it when you've got a friendship that is so like strong and and powerful. And yeah, no, I'm legitimately jealous of you guys. I'm like, man, I wish I had like a work wife relationship the way that like
it's a blessing,
Aminata
honestly. It's a blessing.
It's so cute. It's so wonderful. And it's to see it kind of come full circle, because we kind of mentioned like your injury. You had a knee injury in February 2023. Was it in your match with Skye Blue?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. And then you end up going and having surgery. Like all of these things happen. Like what was that time period like?
To be honest, I've been in the medical field and I never truly believed in depression. But that was my first time ever experiencing that type of pain and loneliness and feeling lost. And it just kept on adding and adding and adding. And I asked myself one day, I'm like, is this really the life that you want to live? Not to the point like, hey, I want to harm myself. Like, I'm not to that point, but like to the point where I'm like, do you really want to keep trying? Because it's not working for you right now. So that's when I just log off and no social media, nothing. Just, I was out completely, just trying to find myself again. So going through that and coming back to wrestling, that like I really had to think about it multiple times. if this is what you want to do again, then you have to make sure you do it the best. You have to make sure no matter what happens, nobody can tell you did this wrong. They have to tell you did it wrong in your own way. Like, you have to be that good. You have to be that certain. You have to be just the best version of you. And that's all I have in my head right now. So every match, every, I don't know, encounter, like whatever I do, even going to the gym or waking up early, nothing bothers me anymore because I know what I went through. So it's just I guess, AEW, be ready. Because you have your worst. Just be ready. That's all I can say.
Well, this has been honestly an incredible conversation, and we've got so much more to talk about. And I want to get into a lot more in this final leg of the podcast, and we'll do that right here when AEW Unrestricted continues. AEW Unrestricted. It's Aubrey and Will, and we're talking to the one true African woman wrestler, Queen Aminata. I want to talk about the character that is really, in a lot of ways, an extension of yourself in so many different ways. It's like, we do, I think everything in wrestling obviously is turned up, maybe just to 11. But in your case, it really does feel like a genuine extension of exactly who you are. And, talk to me about exactly what made you want to bring your character to such a genuine place.
I used to watch wrestling when I was back home with my dad and my grandmother. So fast forward to when I started wrestling, I think when I first started, I wanted to be the American wrestler. And then I was getting lost in the process because I'm like, there's something missing. It's just not genuine. I feel like I just was I don't know, a robot, something like that. And one day my trainer was like, hey, just be you. Don't care about anybody else. Just be you. Do you. And I was like, okay, what is doing me? Because I was so lost. I'm like, what is doing me? Like, what are you talking about? That's when I started adding the crown, the cape, the necklace. Oh, let me just speak some African in the ring until I find exactly what I wanted to do. And that's how I started, recreating again Aminata. And I was like, oh, well, this woman is just not a woman. She's more than that. She's a queen. She's a change. She's the first. She's the one. So I just started adding these layers and layers and layers. And I'm like, nobody will ever represent me better than me. And nobody will ever, talk about me way more than I will be able to talk about myself. Reason why I hate doing interviews, because people were misinterpreting. Because they see me, they're just, oh, you're just not the queen. So I was like, if I talk less, they will listen more. Because if you talk more, they will listen less. And here I am at AEW, still doing the same.
Doing the same, but like so well though. Like the character you've developed over the course of your wrestling career and then bringing it to AEW, you just feel so confident. It's one of the reasons why I love working with you in the ring is that confidence you bring. It comes through in your character, in your entrance, especially like in your wrestling style. It's just so infectious. And I love working with it because I feel like it makes me more confident. Like the Aubrey character is kind of this like super confident version of Brittany. But like, oh, if I'm with Queen, like, yeah, no, let's rock and roll. This is awesome. So like, thank you for doing that.
No,
like,
thank you.
It's one of those, like, we talk about other women being inspirational and it's like, you're freaking doing that. Like, I don't know if you realize you're doing that with your coworkers, but like, I'm telling you right here, like you're doing it with me. So thank you so much for like, just being yourself and being genuine. Like, oh, it's so good.
That makes me happy.
Of course. So I want to go back to a little bit because you said you did 2 tours in Japan. Yeah. So how does something like that happen? Because it was back in 2020. So you had already been in America for a little bit. You had been wrestling for a bit. How do you end up going to Japan, and what were those experiences like for you?
I Actually, the first time when I went there, one of my really good friend on the indies, now I call her my sister, Rachel, went to Japan. And when she came back, the Japanese promotion had asked her, hey, do you have any other girl to recommend? I think I was 2 or 3 years into wrestling. And then she said, I know this one girl. She's very young, but I know she's going to learn. She's not, because it takes certain type of people to survive in Japan, like the dojo life, because it's not for everybody. I can tell you guys that. So she finally recommended me, and I went, So I went, like, honestly, I clear my head. I am not a wrestler. I'm just a beginner. Let me start from zero. And I just had, I don't know, an amazing tour. Matches wise, I won't say amazing because I was still finding myself. But then the second time when they said, oh, you want to come back? I said, I mean, sure, why not? So I ended up going this time. It was amazing. It was completely different. And that's one of the reasons, too, I'm so glad I'm with AEW, because I know I can go back to Japan and still, work those Japanese style, work the different styles. So it was, I think, if I hadn't been in Japan, I don't think I would be the Queen Aminata that I am today, because it affected every single thing that I do in the ring, honestly. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah, and that goes kind of back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and some of the things you've picked up and included in your matches. And talking about those very matches that you've had this year, you have really run the gamut as far as AEW is concerned. You have had, like sometimes, when I'm pulling up win-loss records and I'm like, I can't believe how many matches she's had this year, and like how many weeks we are into this year. And the fact that number exceeds the amount of weeks is actually pretty. That's a pretty special feat to have pulled off, especially in AEW. And talking about the litany of opponents you've had, when we talk about Hikaru Shida, we talk about Chris Statlander, we talk about Mariah May, we talk about Thunder Rosa, and when we talk about all of those names, those are obviously like top tier names as far as AEW is concerned. And I said all that to say that in every single one of those matches, and I know you pay attention to these things, so don't tell me you don't. But coming out of every single one of those matches, the buzz around the match was around you, and that every single time, it didn't necessarily blow my mind because I know you and I know what to expect, but do you ever find yourself surprised that coming out of every single one of those matches with, again, we're talking about world class, we're talking about elite level talent, that every single time the conversation was about Queen Aminata?
Surprised? No. Honestly, I'm not going to say I'm surprised, but like expecting it to happen right now at this moment, yes. But also, I think it goes to say that if you're in the ring with somebody and you guys are willing to work together, or let's just let's just cancel that. Let's say you're willing to work with the person no matter what, no matter their background, how many years they've been working, no matter what they bring on the table. Are they willing to work with you? Are they not willing to work with you? Just clean plate. I don't think you will ever have a bad match with somebody. I don't care what anybody says. Because I've been wrestling, yes, I'm still young. I've been wrestling for 7 years. But I think with my personal experience, I don't care who steps in the ring with me. I tell them from the get-go, tell me what you want to do. And I will make sure I deliver that the best way that I can. If I can deliver that for you, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for you. But I feel like the fans can they're so into our matches. They can relate to everything. And they're smart fans too. They can see. So there's no way you're going to step in the ring with Queen Aminata and be like, oh, yeah, I always come with my 50%. No, just my body language will tell you right away. You're going to come in this match 100%, and I'm not giving you a choice. That's point blank. And this is where my sassiness comes a little bit, because I'm like, we can't do this. Like, we cannot. You cannot talk about changing in wrestling and like, okay, women wrestling, this and that, and then you still act the same way. This goes again to say, you talk less and you do more. You wrestle more and you train more. You don't wrestle more and then you train less. Or like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. No, you have to be ready 24/7 because this is a 365-day a year business. So that's how I see things. So am I surprised? No, because I believe in my hard work and dedication. That's your answer right there.
Yeah, love it. So we had talked a little bit about this before we were recording, but you mentioned you were up at 3 a.m. today.
Yeah, I'm up at 3:30 every day.
3:30, and why do you do that?
I'm a queen. If I can do it and they can do it, that's the difference right there. I mean, this goes to say, I listen to Kobe Bryant a lot, and he says, if you can work every single day for 1 year, imagine your opponent, they're just working maybe 3 times a week. How many times are you ahead of them? And you do that for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What can they say? So if I can travel, like go to TV and land, let's say I land in LA tonight, tomorrow, 3:30, I'm up, I train. By 6, I'm at my hotel room, eat, maybe take a nap. And then if call time is 2 p.m., I'm there by 1 p.m. so I can roll and do some stuff. You know what I mean? And then before people get in the building, I'm already rolling, I'm already hyped. So you're getting ready to roll around and I'm already thinking about my match. So I'm already 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. So by the time it's time for my match, I'm not rushing. I'm calm. I'm breathing. I'm sinking in. I'm just me. So I can go to the next step. There's no secret. Just work hard and stop bitching around, if I can say that.
You can absolutely say that. I think people forget that, like, even though we have 2 days of TV a week, Wednesday, Saturday, like, as you said, this is a 365-day job. Like, if you are dedicated and if you want to succeed and feel that you can succeed, you have to be working every day. Yeah. It's not just, like, oh, well, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you're up, you're in the gym, you're training, you're in the ring, you're making sure you're eating well, you're doing all these things. So the fact that you're able to do all of that, I appreciate that you like mention it, because it's like, yes, this business is hard, man. And especially like facing the issues that like women face in the world, where it's just like, you have to work twice as hard for half the credit, right? Like, I love that you're killing it. I love it so much.
Oh, thank you. I have to kill it. I have a whole continent to represent. That I don't take that lightly. I also have a whole company that, I might not be the face of the company, but I'm going to be the heart of the company, and that's the goal.
You're not the face yet.
Yet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, you're getting there.
I love it, and genuinely. I also love that you listen to Kobe Bryant, because immediately I was like, yeah, if there was anybody who is the true embodiment of being the different animal but the same beast, it is Queen Aminata. So I love it. Honestly,
thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here on AEW Unrestricted. This has been awesome. It's been an awesome conversation, and it's great to allow the AEW audience to get to know a little bit more of who you are and why you bring what you bring to the table. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was so wonderful. Oh my God. You can listen to episodes of this podcast every Thursday on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can watch the video and just see how friggin' beautiful Queen is. New episodes every Monday. And make sure you watch all of the crazy things that are happening with AEW and ROH. You can watch Dynamite on Wednesdays on TBS. You can watch ROH on Honor Club on Thursdays. You can watch Rampage on TNT on Fridays. You can watch Collision on TNT on Saturdays. And
you know what's crazy? She's on all of them.
All of them. Like, just killing it all over the place. Like, you want your Queen Aminata, watch friggin' anything that we offer, and you will see this bitch doing amazing shit. So, there you go.
Thank you.
Right? There you go. Like, I am Aubrey Edwards along with Will Washington. Thank you so much for listening to AEW Unrestricted.